and I got a top 64 at YCS Birmingham playing Malice. So for the Malice engine, I played 3 Dormouse, 3 White Rabbit, 2 Chessy Cat, 3 Underground. So I chose to only play 2 Chessy Cat as she doesn't do anything on her own. Although she was probably my favourite one on the weekend because every time I drew 2, I tended to win most games. White Rabbit is the worst starter, but she is a starter, so I had to max her out because this deck does brick a lot. But I was siding her down a lot to like 1 or 2 copies every time. Underground, again, that's your best extender, but your worst starter. So we maxed out on that, and I also had the Terraforming as another copy of it. And then obviously we played 1 of each trap because they're mandatory. Most of the time I was siding 07 out going second because you didn't need the interruption from it. You had to keep these 2 in because this is the best trap, and that is part of your combo when you play White Rabbit. For other consistency cards, we played 1 Gold Sark because that's a pseudo starter. And I played 3 Allure. I wasn't a fan of this card at first. I wasn't going to play it. And then I realised how many darks I was playing and the sort of way I built the deck. Allure was a big part in my consistency. I'll explain in the non-engine, sort of the general game plan. But this was all my engine. So let's move on to non-engine. For pseudo-engine, non-engine, I played the Bestials. We played 1 Magnamut, 3 Druids, and 3 Baldrake. Initially, I know a lot of people were running 3 Saronir as well. I tried Saronir, I didn't like it because I found if you wasn't coming against specifically Fiendsmith or Mitsurugi, then it wasn't very good. And I was testing a lot. I did come against Crystron a decent amount. And in the Malice Mirror, it wasn't the best, which I did play like 3 times. And I did play against Mermail, which again, it did nothing, so I decided not to play them. This was enough. Anytime you saw a Bestial plus name, you played through any amount of interruption, and you got your full board. So that's it for the Bestials. And then other non-engine, I played 3 Shifter. This is what carried me through Swiss. I decided I didn't want to lose to random decks like that White Forest Azamina deck, and this helped that. And the general game plan, if I'll just show the rest of the non-engine, was... So my hand traps are here to beat, because I was expecting Fiendsmith Ryzeal to be the most popular. My hand traps are here to beat the Fiendsmith part of the engine. And then I'd try and dig for cards like Metaltronus and Talents in order to break the Ryzeal board. You know, because Metaltronus just beats a Detonator on its own, no matter what they've got. So the rest of it was just there just to beat the Fiendsmith portion of the engine. Annoyingly, Pure was the most popular version on the weekend, so it made the D-Shifter not as good. But Metaltronus was still broken because of that, because it was just a 1 card out to Detonator. And then the rest were just good hand traps. I chose to play... I didn't want to play Nib in Perm Veiler because I didn't want to play the cross-out minigame with people. And that came up a lot where people were putting, especially Pure, they were maining cross-out. And they see me with background, they preemptively call cards with cross-out. And because I'm not playing those, because I'm playing different hand traps, their cross-outs were useless. And a lot of the time I also found because I hadn't hand trapped them very much, they didn't side the cross-outs out. So game 2, they had dead cards against me, which was really good. So that's it for the main deck. I played 42. The reason for that was I wanted to bait people that I was on Mitsurugi, because Malice tends to play 40 for consistency. So when people found out I was on 40, they would blind dwell on me, which was, as we know, does nothing into Malice. So onto the extra deck. I play 1 Link Decoder and 1 Link Garibo. These are the only Link ones. The main reason for this one, I wasn't playing it at first, is because under Shifter, you can go normal one of your guys, don't use the effect, link it off for Link Garibo. And when it comes back, you then have protection against Imperm. Because obviously they can't Veiler you under Shifter, so this protects you from Imperm and you get to go full combo anyway. For the Link 2s, I play Haggard, SP, IP, Dark, Phoenix, and Splash Mage. I made every single one of these. SP, I only made to combo a lot of the time. IP, I think I made once, but it was still good to be there. This was probably the best Link 2 in the deck. There was multiple times where I would only have Bestials, I'd crash into a Detonator, and I'd search engine and go full combo. Because if you make this with a Druid's Worm, you out the Detonator, and you know it's either they pop it, and give you a surge, or they don't pop it and you've now got a good body. Phoenix came up, especially for the co-link draw. There was a couple of times where I had to do that and I saw engine off of it. And then Splash Mage was there for those really awkward hands where you have to use it to combo. I didn't like going into it because it Cyburst locks you, but it's still necessary in this version of the deck. Onto the Link 3s, it's just the standard. We play one of each of the Malice ones. The whole weekend, I think I made this once. I was just playing Crypto Control. I'd made Binder as my 5th summon and then go into Crypto, and that was enough. I think, as we'll see in the Link 4s, I played no Griffin. I think Griffin is just over the top. I think anyone who plays Griffin, you're being greedy. I didn't summon about once the entire weekend. I think she's so unnecessary. This is the one card in the entire deck list I'd probably change. I'm probably going to cut her and put something else in. People are obviously using that to make Griffin, but I think the Griffin line is so greedy. Access Code because it's broken with Malice cards. And Firewall Dragon I made once because I was Cyburst locked. But it's still a good card to play, just in case you are Cyburst locked. Get your White Binder off field. And then the final card was the Detonator for the Metaltronus target. Again, broken. Came up loads. It was the only reason I beat Ryzeal. I didn't lose to a single Ryzeal player because of Metaltronus. I think Metaltronus is probably the best card in the format right now, and I think if you're not playing it, then that's a big mistake in deck building. So onto the side. We play the standard cards of 3 Lancia because Malice is everywhere and it was the most popular deck on day one. So everybody should be playing this. 3 Perulia because it's FTK into Ryzeal. They just, really can't make much of a board. It's Detonator Pass, which again, my deck is built to beat. We played the 1 called by when people Lancia us. I didn't see it the entire weekend, and unfortunately, my top 64 match, I lost to Lancia in game 3. Had no hand traps, and I didn't see the called by, so it just cost me the game. Other cards I played for essentially to not lose to Lancia, I played 3 Thrust, the 1 D-Barrier, and the 1 Sanctum. The logic with this is if you get Lancia at any point, you essentially turn skip your opponent with Thrust. So obviously against Ryzeal variants, you put the D-Barrier in, and then against Malice Mirror, you put Sanctum in. I did actually have this come up, and my opponent Dominus in my Sanctum, and that was one of my losses at the end of day 1. And then finally, I played 3 Solemn Strike. This card was broken. Anytime I saw this, I won going first because negating a summon is really good, especially against Malice. If you negate a Link 3, they've essentially lost that for the rest of the game because it's just too hard for them to get it back. Yeah, so in terms of the side, there's not a single card I'd change. I think the side deck, I think the main deck was perfect as well. Every game I won, I 2-0'd my opponent, except Malice. And my losses were pretty much stuff that were out of my control. It was just Lancia. I wouldn't change a single thing except the Abal. I think Abal becomes like a Typhon or something maybe. But yeah, for shout-outs, I want to shout out everyone at Telford for helping me practice. Jacob, Ashley, Seb, Chris, James, putting all the time in with me. But yeah, so glad I played this, and I think Malice is one of the strongest decks in the format and definitely the highest skill ceiling. But also thanks for Jimothy for having me on. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.